Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Amanda. So with the way that prices are going with food these days and the fact that they keep increasing, a lot of people are really struggling. So I thought for this week, I would hop on the bandwagon of the Extreme Budget Meal Challenge. And I decided to do a challenge for my family. Where we are, $50 for a week is an extreme budget for a family of 4. So I've done a meal plan and I'd like to bring you along with me. The only ingredients that I'm using from my pantry are salt and olive oil. So I'd like to show you what we have come up with for the week on a budget of $50 for a family of 4. So when I got to the store, I picked the cheapest fruit available, which was bananas. I also picked the cheapest vegetables possible, which was carrots, celery, potatoes, and onions. I found this great deal on pork chops, so I decided to add it to the meal plan. We got oats for breakfast. I also picked up some flour to make bread with, as I'll need that for some recipes. I needed the yeast as well so that I could make bread. I picked up a jar of tomatoes and mushroom soup and pasta. I also grabbed some eggs for pancakes. And glad I found this sale on yogurt. So I needed some beans and vegetables to add to the meals. I was lucky to find such good sales. Okay, so here it all is. I did my best to keep it on the best budget possible. My prices might be different than your prices. I do live in Ontario, Canada, so things typically are a lot more expensive here. I am in a little town, so I'm not near discount stores or things like that. I bought as much on sale as I possibly could find. So we are going to see if we can make it through this week on this. And I will show you every meal that I make from that. So this came to $49.26, just under $50 for the week, which for our area is pretty good. All right, I will show you everything that I am making from this. So I forgot that I needed one more can of beans. So I added this can in for $1.25, and that puts my total to $50.54. Okay, so this is breakfast for everybody. It's a third cup of oats, half of one of those bananas because they were huge, a dollop of the yogurt. If you had sugar or syrup or something you wanted to put in your oats, you can do that, but for right now for me, I am just putting the oats, the yogurt, and the bananas in our breakfast. All right, we are all done breakfast. I am going to get making bread. So bread will last us, I'm going to do 2 loaves. I think it'll last us the whole week. And we're going to have it with a couple of different meals. Okay, so because I'm doing 2 loaves of bread, I'm doing 2.5 cups of warm water. And then I'm going to use 2 of these packets of the yeast that I bought. Okay, and now I'm just going to let that sit and rise while I prepare the rest of my ingredients. Okay, so the yeast is activating, and if you have some salt, you can add a little bit of salt. And then I'm going to add 6 cups of this flour. There's 2. 4. 6. Now I'm just going to mix it up. So this bread is really easy to make. Normally I put an egg in it as well, but because we are going to make breakfast for dinner one of these nights, I am saving those eggs for that. So you just want to get it all mixed in. This is a kneading bread, so we do have to knead it. So you're going to use probably an extra cup of flour just to get it so that it's not sticky anymore. And you're going to knead it until it's kind of a soft ball. It's got more of a rubbery texture to it. And it is a cold day out today. It is cold and it is raining. Winter is definitely on its way. It's supposed to snow here tomorrow. It is, what is it today? It's October 17th, I think. So this is starting to look more like what it should look like, more of a bit of a rubbery ball. So because it's so cold out today, I am going to get a fire started. There we go. And I'm going to leave this over top of my fireplace. This is my fireplace. I love it. It is so amazing. It is probably my favorite spot of the house. So, got a fire going. And I've got my bread covered and up here to rise. It's going to rise for 1 hour. I'm going to come back, punch it down, and it's going to rise again. And I'll show you that process a little bit later. Okay, the dough has risen for an hour. I'm going to take this and separate it into 2 different greased loaf pans and let it rise again for another hour. Okay, so here they are. They're separated into their loaf pans. I'm going to put them right back above the fire again and let them rise. Okay, my bread has been rising for an hour. I'm going to go pop it in my oven, 350 degrees for about 30 minutes. All right, so it's lunchtime, and what we are going to be doing for lunches for the next week is going to be pancakes. All right, so I am going to add 1.5 cups of the flour that we bought. I'm going to add in a tablespoon of baking powder. Now, I'm assuming that we have at least some baking ingredients on hand. If not, I guess it's making crepes. So it would still be filling, but this just adds more of a leavening agent to it. It calls for sugar. I am not going to add that. All right, I'm going to use 2 of my eggs. Right, it calls for 2 tablespoons of melted butter, but I am going to just use the 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Okay. And I will also be using olive oil to cook with. It also calls for 1 1/3 cup of milk, and if you had milk on hand, you can certainly use that. I'm going to use water for this challenge though. So 1 1/3 cup of water. So then I'm going to mix this in well, but you don't want to overmix because it will affect how your pancakes rise. So I'll just get this all mixed in thoroughly, and then I'm going to actually let it sit for about 10 minutes just to rise up a bit. All right, I've got the pan heating up. I'm just going to get my pancakes in there. It's one of my kids' favorite lunches. Never perfect, I gotta say, but they always taste good. All right, here's lunch, and I have enough for another batch as well. So we could have 2 pancakes between all of us, and we don't have syrup, we do have yogurt. So we can serve yogurt with these pancakes. It adds extra protein. All right, I am gonna get started with tonight's dinner. I am making a shepherd's pie with beans. I find that any recipe where I use ground beef, I can substitute beans and it still tastes great. Okay, so I've added about 2 tablespoons of oil here. We're going to get our onions in. Then I'm going to chop up the celery and carrots and get them in as well. So I'm not using all of this celery. Obviously, that would be a lot of celery. We will save some for future meals. Maybe use about half of this. Celery is a great budget vegetable. Celery, carrots, and any kind of sort of root vegetable are great budget vegetables to add into your groceries. Okay, so we're going to do our carrots next. I'm going to chop them really small so that they cook evenly. I'm only going to do a couple of carrots, as again, I'd like to save some more for future meals this week. And carrots are actually awesome for the kids for snacks too during the day when they get hungry, because you know what kids are like, they're always snacking. Okay, so there's 2 carrots, about a third of the celery, and 1 onion in here. Okay, so I'm putting in this entire can of Romano beans with the liquid as well. So I definitely find that when you're doing budget meals, that having root vegetables is the best bang for your buck, because then you're getting filler along with nutrients. So you're getting a lot of nutrients in with the carrots and with the potatoes and with the beans as well as fiber, but it's also filling you up really well. So if you have spices, like a chili spice or a taco seasoning or something like that, that's where I find it really nice to put in here. But if you don't, I will just be adding some salt. So I'm going to let this cook away until the vegetables are soft. And in the meantime, I'm going to get my potatoes on. All right, I'm going to get these potatoes chopped up. I am leaving the skins on as it adds extra nutrition and my kids don't mind. And it saves me time, so that's a bonus. So I'm going to boil these down. I'm going to do a mashed potato, and then I'm going to top my shepherd's pie with it. And that will be our meal for tonight. Now that meal will last us tonight, and then probably also be leftovers for my husband's lunch tomorrow. All right, so here are all of my prepared vegetables in the base of my shepherd's pie. I'm going to go ahead and mash my potatoes and get them on top of here. So my potatoes have been cooking in water for about 10 minutes and boiling. They were soft, so now I'm mashing them up. Normally I would do this with some milk and butter, but that was not in the budget this week. So I am just mashing them up with a little bit of the water that was left over. So I am going to throw in some salt here, and then I'm going to get this right on top of my shepherd's pie, and that is dinner for tonight. All right, so here is the finished shepherd's pie, and we should have enough for leftovers for my husband tomorrow. All right, welcome to dinner on day 2. So I'm going to prepare a pasta with a creamy sauce with a decent amount of vegetables in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my pasta going, and then I will start preparing my sauce and chopping up all of my vegetables. So this pasta dish was actually based on a dish that my mother used to make when I was a kid. It was a tuna noodle casserole. We don't have the budget to be buying tuna this week, so there is no tuna in here.
but it is pasta with a cream of mushroom soup sauce with some vegetables. And again, as a kid, my mom would have probably put a breading crust on top, but not in the budget. So we are just going to do this with pasta, some cut up onions, some peas, and then the cream of mushroom sauce. Okay, so I've had these onions cooking for a little bit in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to add about half that bag of the frozen peas, and I'm just going to let this cook down a little bit before adding my cream of mushroom soup. All right, this has been cooking for a little while, so I am going to go ahead and add my can of cream of mushroom soup. I'm going to stir this in and let it cook down a little bit. You could always add a little bit of water or milk if you had it to make this the sauce a little bit more watery or to make it stretch a little bit further. For now, I'm just going to leave it as it is. This is also a great time to add some seasonings if you wanted to, if you had any spices you wanted to add. I think there's just enough salt in the cream of mushroom soup that I'm not going to bother adding salt, but adding some rosemary or some oregano is lovely in this. So if that's something you have on hand, that would be a great addition. Okay, here is my pasta all plated up. This is a nice big bowl, by the way, so this is a bit bigger of a serving than it looks.
Hello, everybody. We are on day 3. So we have been continuing with the oatmeal for breakfast, pancakes for lunch, and I'm going to start making my pork chop dinner. So we're doing pork chops, potatoes, and some of the frozen vegetables. All right, I am just going to get this meat browned. I'm going to cook all of these pork chops, but I'm saving some for another meal. So I'm not going to serve them all tonight. But I'm going to brown on both sides, and I'm going to salt both sides. So while those are browning, I'm going to get my potatoes and my vegetables ready to go. Okay, so I am just going to do boiled potatoes, plain and simple, for this meal. So I'm just cubing them up here, quartering them. I'm going to throw them in some salted water and boil them until they're soft. Okay, so I'm going to use about half of this bag of frozen vegetables. Right here is dinner 3's meal. You can see that's a decent portion. We will also have some left for my husband for his lunch tomorrow. And yeah, this is looking good for tonight. Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 4. So tonight I'm going to be making a tomato and bean soup with some pasta. So come along and I'll show you how I do that. All right, these onions are pretty small, so I am going to use 2 of them in this dish. So I'm just going to finely chop, and I'm going to prepare this dish in my slow cooker. I'm going to chop up, maybe not the rest of this, but the majority of it. All right, so I'm going to keep this, and this will either go in a soup later on, or maybe I'll keep it in case I need it later throughout the week. But this is enough. This and the other bit that I put in there, that's enough for the soup that we're having tonight. Right now I'm going to finely chop up a couple carrots as well. All right, so the vegetables are in there. I'm also going to add the last bit of these peas. And then I'm going to get my can of beans in there. I've got my can of black beans and I'm going to put that in there. That's juice and all. I'm going to add my tomato sauce and I'm going to cook this on low for 6 hours, I believe. There's my tomatoes. If I'd been thinking, I would have gotten one with an Italian seasoning or something like that, but I was honestly looking for the more volume for the price. So I'm going to put 1/2 to 3/4 in here, and I'm going to save the rest for another recipe. There we go. So I'm just going to thin this out a little bit with water, and I'm going to add salt for our seasoning. Again, if you have seasonings in your pantry, please feel free to use some, but for this challenge, I wasn't able to afford extra seasoning, so this is what we're going with. All right, so I'm going to just water this down, and this will actually simmer and make more of its own broth as well. And at the end of this 6 hours, this should be looking really good. Okay, here's dinner. It's looking and smelling really good. Instead of doing pasta with it, I decided to do bread, and I'm saving that pasta for another night. But here it is, and I'm excited to get into this because it smells really good. Hi everybody, we are on day 5. So tonight I am looking to make a pasta with the leftover pork and my leftover tomato sauce from yesterday. We are still doing oatmeal in the breakfast with some yogurt and pancakes for lunch. Okay, I'm going to cook up the rest of this pasta. I'm going to cut up those pork chops, put them in with the pasta, with the rest of our vegetables, our frozen vegetables from day 3, and the rest of our tomato sauce from last night. Okay, so I'm going to fry up an onion for this recipe as well. So I'm going to cut this up and get it into the pan. Okay, I have been browning my onions in a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to throw my veggies in. I also have my pork chops all cut up, so I'm going to throw them in as well. So the pork chops will add a nice flavor to the pasta. Okay, this has been cooking down a little bit. Everything's all cooked. I'm going to add the rest of my tomato sauce. And I'm just going to add water to get all of that tomato stuff out of there, and I'm going to put it in here again. Okay, there's our sauce. You can also add salt to this. Or if you happen to have seasonings in your cupboard, you can feel free to add them now. So we'll just stir this in. Some nice oregano, basil, or rosemary would be awesome to add to this. Okay, I'm just going to add the cooked pasta to the sauce, and then I'll stir it in, and our dinner is ready. Okay, here is our meal. And again, this bowl is large, so it's a good portion, and we are definitely going to have leftovers. All right, everybody, we are on day 6. We're almost there. I am running out of ingredients, so it's gotten pretty tight. We will make it through that one more day, but it's we're running out of those ingredients. So for tonight, I am going to be making a chickpea stir fry with some mashed potatoes on the side. All right, I have a couple of onions left, and they're pretty small, so I'm going to use them up. Obviously, if you don't like onions as much, you don't have to use this amount, but I think onions add a great amount of flavor, and because I'm not using any seasonings at all, I'm just using salt, I do like the extra flavor that these onions are bringing to the dish. So I'm just going to chop these up small, and I am going to get them in my frying pan. All right, so I have my onions in the frying pan. I'm going to go ahead, get my carrots and my celery in there, as well as these are the last of the vegetables that I have. Okay, I have my onions, carrots, and celery in here cooking. Normally I would add garlic to this recipe, and garlic really isn't a lot of extra money. So if you have the extra 50 cents to $1, adding that extra garlic in here really makes a difference. I'm going to drain and add my chickpeas now. I actually added a little bit of the liquid in with this just to add a little bit more of a cooking liquid and a little bit more flavor. So I'm going to add salt liberally. I'm going to cook until the carrots and the celery are soft, and then I'm going to serve it with the mashed potatoes. All right, I decided to be lazy and not mash my potatoes, so I just left them cubed up like that. You can toss on a little olive oil and salt on your potatoes to add some flavor. But this is it for tonight. It's looking good, so I'm excited to give it a try. If you have any bread left, you can feel free to add a piece of bread onto the side here as well. Okay, it is day 7 and we've made it through the week. I barely have any ingredients left. I'm out of flour. I have a couple eggs left. I have enough to make the pancakes for today, but that's it. I'm out of bread. I'm out of bananas. I'm out of all my vegetables. I'm actually out of all of my ingredients, basically. So we're lucky we have lots of leftovers from the tomato soup, the tomato and bean soup, the pasta, and the chickpeas. I think that's all I've got in there. Anyways, we'll be having leftovers for dinner tonight. So that is 7 days on $50 for a family of 4. So what I've learned from this is that $50 in my area for a family of 4 is incredibly tight, and it is hard to make meals that are nutritious, especially. So there's not a lot of variety. I had to focus a lot on fillers like bread and pancakes and root vegetables to make us full. And it's just difficult. So I can imagine how hard it would be for people on this budget. So please, if you are having troubles, hit up your food banks, hit up your churches, even hit up your neighbors. Neighbors are awesome in times of crisis. And if you are blessed to have extra, please consider donating to your food bank. They are always appreciative. Well, that's it for me for today. I hope you're having a good one. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.